primary ignition.
This is Star Wars.
Look out!
Core World News.
You may fire when ready.
From the bright center of the galaxy, I'm Grex Kondak, and you're listening to Core World News, your whole-net news service providing in-depth coverage of all the latest stories from every sector of the galaxy. Now, for your news segment rundown for June 16th, 2023. Kyber Crystal Comics Corner. But first, this news.
All right, thank you very, very much, Grex. I'm going to pretend that he wasn't cussing us out for 2 hours during that last meeting. But, you know, appreciate him here, always doing his great headlines as always. You know,
Sure,
it'll be fine, you know? I mean, maybe we're not on topic or sober every day, or we don't always take showers. I don't know, but I'm sure he'll get over it.
That's just his opinion.
Yeah, just like...
That's all I can say.
I feel very secure in my job right now. It's fine. Everything's
perfect. Here we are for another week of Core World News, where sometimes we talk about news, but most of the time we just talk about Star Wars. This week we did get some news, which is really exciting. Some video game news, which is near and dear to all of our hearts, and hopefully you as well. Grant, what'd you hear on the
internet? Guys, big news. There's going to be more than one game in the future. This future is looking bright. All right. Yeah. We have the first ever open world Star Wars game on the horizon. Just revealed the other day at the Ubisoft event, and we saw a full trailer. We saw gameplay. It is Star Wars Outlaws. It looks to be an incredible original scoundrel story in a AAA Star Wars experience. You play as Kay Vess and her sidekick. She's got her sidekick Nix. They both are incredible character designs. I'm in love with all the characters introduced thus far. We saw a BX droid in a trench coat. Like there's so much going on.
BX droid in a trench coat
in what we just saw that I'm still recovering from what we saw. So, yeah, by all means, what did you guys think of Star Wars Outlaws?
I mean, I'll go. The first most striking part of that gameplay was the stealth aspect. That's something that's been lacking, and people have noticed. Not lacking. I'm not a big stealth guy in video games. It's like I can sort of take it or leave it, but it does really make sense canonically. Like a lot of what you're doing in Star Wars is stealth. I mean, all the adventures involve stealth, so it just makes a lot of sense. And the other thing is just sort of like the seamless transition from stealth to running to vehicle to spaceport to cantina to starship to hyperspace to in-space battles. That was new and exciting to me.
Yeah, I mean, I want to echo all that. And then like, there's maybe like 2-3 minutes in the middle, maybe not that long, but a couple minutes in the middle where she's just on her speeder bike. Yeah. And I'm just like, oh, this is just Red Dead Redemption 2. Instead of a horse, I'm on a speeder, and I am all for that. Like, it is weird because I'm like, what is their definition of open world, right? Because playing playing Jedi Survivor, it's fairly open world, right? Yeah. They really did that. And then watching the gameplay, I think it's really smart that they released the gameplay trailer, because that was just like, oh, no. They really do mean giant map, kind of your Red Dead type open world, which is great.
Yeah.
Right. And much like your Rockstar games, there was a giant wanted transition for when KS, I think, came out of a cantina at one point. And I was like, okay, here we go. This is open world. It's of course set between Empire Strikes Back and Return of the Jedi. So we know that it's still Reign of the Empire era, Galactic Civil War era. And so we know that the Empire is out there being authoritarian, being fascistic, and you're hiding, you're keeping a low profile, obviously. And so that's so interesting to me. I almost wish that was in every game in the Reign of the Empire era, just given like the Empire was just so, I guess, thorough in terms of keeping tabs on the galaxy. But it's going to be so much fun to experience it in this game. And like you said, like the seamless traversal stuff of like jumping on the speeder and just like blasting out of town, and then like jumping into your ship, and then how they hid the loading screen. Right. Like they show you almost like what the HUD's going to look like, but it's you're in a loading screen, and then when you get to space, that's a completely new instance in the game scripting. But it's just so seamless. I think they did a great job sort of.
So playing like Survivor, it feels like that was built on the PS4 engine, and then realizing that they were gonna have PS5, so they just upscaled it. Yeah. Does that make sense? Like there's still some like clear loading stuff going on in Survivor that was fairly similar to what they did in the last one. This
you mean going any crack in the wall?
And like when you go to another planet, it's hidden. They hid it, but like this feels really PS5, like where you should have zero loading, right? It's amazing, and it really just looks. Man, does it look like an open world game in a way that I was not expecting it to look like, and it's beautiful. Yeah.
Yeah, I love like leaving atmosphere. So like when you get into a starship, you transfer to third person on the starship, which I don't know how I feel because it would be kind of nice to have the HUD, but I do prefer piloting starships in Star Wars games in third person, just personal preference. But Same. But it's like you go through the cloud cover and out of atmosphere and emerge into space, and then like every planet's going to have its own unique space environment with unlockables and things that you can interact with outside, in the space around various planets. So like that's another dimension. The thing that's really exciting for me is the customizability of your playing experience. Where it's like, you can choose to sort of get on the Empire's good side, or you can get on the Empire's bad side, or you can get on the Pike's good side, or you can get on their bad side. It's like every negotiation you're, getting favors from one group and you're gaining infamy with another group. And so I've always wanted that sort of, well, you can design however you want this experience to be. And I'm curious how different the various outcomes are. Maybe it just changes what challenges you face, but even that way, it's like, well, am I going to be a shill to the Empire, or and have bounty hunters all over me, or am I going to befriend the other criminal elements of the galaxy and stick it to the Empire? And it doesn't even need to be that dialogue; it could be two different points, or I'm just going to be all Black Sun or whoever the group is.
Yeah. Right, a faction system. That's what it sounds like. There might be a faction system in the game, given that the crime syndicates have been mentioned in the descriptions and things like that. And I imagine you'll be doing different missions for different factions, gaining favor with those factions, and then maybe unlocking new explorable areas within those faction headquarters and enclaves.
That would be amazing. Like and they didn't tell you how grand the scale is going to be. There's going to be various planets. Yeah. This first planet that they show in the gameplay trailer looks very much like Kobo.
Yes.
Like a lot, which is fine.
Is it not Tatooine?
Well, there is a desert planet. It looks to me like they brought some elements from, and it'd be really funny if the different, if there were sharing resources between the two, like production companies, like EA and I mean, I don't know, and Massive, like, or Ubi, I don't.
Ubisoft, Massive, and I doubt that there would be interest.
I just wonder because like
sort of assets shared, but. Maybe Lucasfilm would be the
right. I mean, they might have something in the contract language where it's just like, listen, we get to reuse some assets. Because there was one desert planet that could either be Tatooine or Jedha or Pasana or could be something like that.
I think you're exactly right. I think it is written in that the assets do remain with Lucas, and that those things do transfer to the next project and the next project after that, and then the library is just built upon and built upon and built upon. That's what Disney does. They store
pretty sure that's called the economies of scale, Grant. I learned that somewhere.
Yeah, well, that's the thing too. It's smart if you want to if you don't want to have gamers wait 3 years between every single game, right? To share those assets helps speed things up, right? Which is great.
Sure does. And Ubisoft is very good at that, at reusing assets, but creating entirely new areas and really churning out games quickly. So,
should we talk a little bit about the pedigree of Ubisoft Massive and sort of the division?
Please, I'm not really familiar with it.
Nor am I. So,
I played both the Division 1 and Division 2, and I deeply enjoyed those games. Those games, I think, stretched incredulity with their sort of the realism in terms of like very, very spongy sort of enemies in that game, almost like an MMO or something like a Diablo or an experience in which you're just hitting the enemy countless times and they're just not taking damage, which is a bit strange for sort of like human on human, just warfare. So I'm hoping that the combat isn't as spongy, and even in Jedi Survivor, I think a lot of people had this criticism of like the lightsaber doesn't feel like it cuts through a lot of what it should realistically cut through. And I just hope that this game doesn't have that spongy problem of enemies are just endlessly, have just like endless hit points. You just constantly bearing down on them with everything you have, gadgets, your blasters, your companions, everything. I'm hoping that's not the combat. I'm hoping it's more like Red Dead and more like a Rockstar game in terms of like the lethality of blasters and I guess weaponry in the galaxy. Because to me, then I don't know, it would make me avoid conflict more. And I think so many games are based on combat that it might be nice to avoid combat and have more dialogue things and really explore the cityscapes and explore the hubs that they're creating. This is an open world game. I want to meet people. I want to, grow my relationship with factions. I want to explore. I don't just want to enter.
Yeah, it also pushes you towards stealth activities more, but I'm the same way. They haven't found the sweet spot with that yet. Survivor, I'm still sort of discovering things about Survivor through like looking at various YouTube videos and stuff. There's a bunch of interesting buried things. One of the things in New Game Plus is you can hit on, it's like you do extra damage, but you get extra damage done to you. But they did it. It's like in a way where you can play where it's like, if you hit a droid with your lightsaber, you kill it. But if you get shot in the chest by a blaster, you die, So, I mean, it's a different way to play, and you can sort of, see how you feel about that mechanic, by playing with that mode and see, like, is that something you want in the future? I mean, it's really hard, but, maybe if they sort of lighten the attacks, from people, then it would be a little more approachable for the casual player. But that's a good point, Grant, that it's like, how are they gonna balance the game combat wise? But it did feel that way. It's like she's hiding behind a thing and shooting someone at range like 15 times, and then they're finally dying.
And I mean, if they're wearing Beskar, like I could understand.
Sure.
I also feel like I know that like Stormtrooper armor is supposed to be decorative, I guess, primarily, but like it should.
It's kind of a propaganda ploy.
I think that's the way they go for it. Yeah.
But it's still armor. It should still protect them a little bit. Like maybe it's a one hit, like, safety measure. Like if you can hit the thing, but it's like, it's literally like what cosplayers wear right now in real life. It's just like, it's plastic. And if you shoot it, a bullet's going right through it,
Mm-hmm.
I don't know.
Yeah.
We'll see.
We'll see. Yeah. We'll see what happens. Looks incredible. Really good. Can't wait.
I know. In 2024, unclear when.
That's next year, man. Hey, a game a year.
Yeah.
Let's go. That's better
somewhere
than
the
a game
rumors
every
are saying
5 years.
Yeah, somewhere the rumors are saying spring, but I cannot imagine that's true. It's going to be end of year 2024, right?
Yeah, I'm assuming Christmas.
Yeah, fourth quarter. Yeah.
Was there anything? Oh wait, what was the other thing that happened this week, Adam?
The other news is they released the film release schedule for the next 3 Star Wars films.
Right.
That's huge.
Yes.
All right.
We got a delay, but then we also got other things moved forward, I think, right? Based on, as opposed to what we're saying, is like we're going to get 3 Star Wars movies in 18 months, basically.
Wow.
Which is wild. It's like...
And these are the new Jedi Order films starring these.
Well, it's going to be the new Jedi Order, the Favreau, or I guess Filoni, I should say, Mandalorian, and the...
So this is a 3-pronged approach.
And it seems like the Mangold,
The Mangold.
It seems like everything seems to be indicating that the new Jedi Order is the first one coming up May 2022, 2016. I love my Christmas Star Wars movies, but man, May is still always going to be the time of Star Wars, right?
Yeah.
Like that is.
Can we theorize the actual release order? And given that these might shift around,
sure.
I'm going to say that the mangled one comes out first.
Well,
yes.
So right now they are scheduled to start shooting the new Jedi Order in April of next year. It's still on the docket for shooting.
And I did see a rumor that Idris Elba would be the antagonist in that movie.
Yeah.
I love that idea, but I hope that happens.
Yeah,
but then that sounds like that's going to be the first one to go.
For you, Grant, is that these, because they're all coming out within 18 months of each other, and they did not say specifically which movies, there is room for flexibility. Seeing where scripts are at, seeing where things are at, you could absolutely move one forward and move one back.
Don't we want to just jump to a new timeline, though? Don't we want to restart? Don't we want to hit the restart button? I don't know why we've been delaying the restart button for this long. That's all I'm going to put out there.
Yeah. Two of these movies are technically restart buttons. I mean, I would call Dawn of the Jedi a restart button, right?
I would call it a serious restart button.
I guess you're right. Yeah. New Jedi Order, there's familiar characters, but that's a restart too, really? Because to me, because we don't know how it's going to play out.
It's the beginning of a new era, right? That's not
the future is
Skywalker
not
saga.
Foretold.
Yeah.
You know, we don't know what's happening.
It's true. Yeah. Sure. I mean, there is baggage. There is the fact that Rey is connected to Palpatine, and that the sort of dark side still permeates, and that's, we kind of have some ideas what that story could entail. Whereas I would just argue that Dawn of the Jedi, I have no idea what that is. And I think Star Wars works best.
No idea.
No context.
I see. All right. Okay.
I'm going to go the other end, and I think the December 17th, 2027 is going to be the end of the
Mandalorian.
Is Mandalorian, because that is also the most affected by writer strikes and other things, right? Yeah. Because it has to have all those shows line up in the right way for that to actually be the capper of that. So,
well, I have a theory that I've had a theory for a long time that the Thrawn rollout and the synergistic Thrawn rollout is going to be so big that it will allow Thrawn to leapfrog the sequels and basically be the villain of a possible new trilogy. I've had this theory for a while now, and I feel like you could do Heir to the Empire with the actual Heir to the Empire, Rey and Thrawn. You could actually have the actual Heir to the Empire story in a major way.
I love that. Yeah, I think that's totally doable. Yeah.
With the, a Grand Admiral versus, someone who's officially
or the legacy of the Chiss ascendancy,
possibly
right?
The Heir to the Empire.
And for Ingalect,
and the Chiss ascendancy extragalactic stuff in the third movie, I guess.
That's my only pushback is, boy, do I not want to see stormtroopers again in the New Jedi Order. I'm kind of done with that, to be honest.
Okay.
Is that radical?
It's radical because I don't, and not that I'm saying that I want stormtroopers, but the iconology of stormtroopers in Star Wars is embedded,
then we got to do a Death Star too, right? Because we always have to do a Death Star. Like, come on. Let's do something new.
There's a macro thing we're not thinking about either, though, which is, are Dawn of the Jedi and the New Jedi Order going to cannibalize a lot of the same ideas?
I really hope
Are they not going to overlap in a way that might be detrimental, given that they might be covering exactly the same story, which is the ignition of a new Jedi Order, basically, like the start
and a new Sith
beginning
Order.
Of a new Jedi Order. Right, and the new Sith Order, are they not doing the exact same thing? Are they not operating in the exact same?
Interesting.
No,
doing the same.
I would argue no, because you have the entire legacy of the Jedi Order for 20,000 years at the fingertips of Rey as she's trying to redesign it. And I think they will relate, and they'll be dealing with a lot of the same concepts.
Can I stop you right there, though? Can we just talk about that for a second? How entangled and how meta do we want Star Wars to get? Like, doesn't Star Wars work best when it's almost like high fantasy and deep mystery? Like, I don't understand why it has to be so interwoven.
I think they interweave as pre-established concepts. Literally.
Sorry.
Because like
poetry,
like they do that for nostalgia bombs, like these little like oh my gosh, that thing that I know, a little bit of familiar.
The Jedi in Mangold's movie did the same thing that it did in the Charmaine Obeyed Chinoy's movie. Like they're doing the same thing. Like that's interesting. It's interesting that Rey learned this to not do it this way in the far future, whereas these Jedi made the wrong decision in the past.
But I also wonder how much of it's less about a Jedi Order in Mangold's film and more of a very individual story about a person discovering the Force, right? And that maybe the end of that movie ends with him or her or them discovering another person who feels the same thing, right? Like maybe that's the end of that story is like, I'm not alone. And that's the end of it. Like hard cut. That's it.
So you're saying that they could be very, very different stories. Like none of the same concepts. I mean,
this is a singular individual journey, and the New Jedi Order is the journey of a entire sect of things, right? Of the Jedi.
Sure.
Yeah. I mean, but I think what you're talking about, Grant, is that like there's the Dawn of the Jedi. So it's like people discovering that they want to organize and become this Jedi Order for peace and justice in the galaxy, or trying to really discover an ethos.
Yes.
And like, and when you add order to that mix, right, then there's suddenly these rules that come along with it, for lack of a better thing. And then like Rey is like, well, the Jedi Orders of past have messed everything up. So I need to I've got the ancient Jedi texts. I have their wisdom and their experiences. I am every Jedi. I can force commune with dead Jedi if I want to. What am I going to do now? But I think it'll just be an interesting counterpoint where it's like, what were the first people thinking as they were inventing this? And then what is Rey thinking now, knowing everything she's known? And I think there will be very similar concepts that come up. But it's like, hopefully it's like, Rey is correcting former mistakes that, I mean, obviously she'll be trying to do that, and hopefully they kind of go in different ways, but it'll be an interesting dialogue between the two series in sort of as they progress in real time. I hope they're not too similar.
Yeah.
Right.
Same.
Because it's like a very foreboding thing.
See, my only worry is that like the books, the sacred texts are like written by the people in Mangold.
Yeah.
Or like, I mean, I'm almost like, I'm worried that the connective tissue is almost literal and is almost too much overlap where it's like, okay, we're kind of getting like we're two Jedi Orders are starting at the exact same time.
My headcanon is that the sacred texts come from different points in history over 20,000 years. So it's not like there may be one that comes from the Dawn of Jedi, but probably none. Like this, how much did he really write down, and did that tome survive 20,000 years?
Yeah, I'm just hoping it's not like Luke and Obi's journals type thing is all I'm hoping for. I'm hoping there's a little bit of a delineation and totally different, almost like, I don't want different schools of thought. Obviously they're going to relate and there's going to be a dialogue, but just new territory for each should be able to cover a new ground.
Agreed.
And you shouldn't have to be like,
I almost hope they obfuscate more.
Rey should have a modernized approach, whereas the old Jedi, I guess, are like forbid attachment. You maybe see how attachment leads to the birth of the Sith, and then you're like, okay, that's why no attachment, whatever. But like Rey is creating an entirely new dogma. Her strength was attachment, right? She was a dyad.
Yeah. It's like a literal attachment. You're like a conjoined force twin, like with someone else.
I don't remember when we talked about it. It might be during our lost episode, but her entire story is like every episode.
What lost episode, Adam?
Nothing happened. So it might be that like everything is attached, right? Like the first episode is her attachment to Han. The second episode is her attachment to Luke. Like it's attachment, right? Which is what gives her strength in every single movie. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Does she see a dyad in this new trilogy? Like, does she see a new dyad, or she's still in the major dyad of the galaxy?
I will give you money if they say the word dyad in that film.
Ooh, I mean, I think they could say it in the first scene.
They could. I'll give you.
Yeah, I think it could be. I will argue they might say.
I'll give you $10. All right, here's the thing: $10. A gentleman's bet. I'll give you $10 if they say the word.
I prefer dyad. Beer. I prefer you give me a 4-pack. I will buy you a beer.
Okay, I'll give you a 4-pack of
New England IPA.
Here's odds. We'll figure it out how to do this, but I'll give you both a 4-pack of beer if the word dyad appears in the next movie.
Okay, all right.
Is said or appears in text on screen.
All right.
I mean, I'm savvy enough to understand it's got an odor on it. I get it.
Yep.
I'm just saying let's just own it and let's move past it. And a way to do that is a throwaway line. It's just like throwaway.
I think they've already
once said I was in the diet of the Force or something. You know what I mean? Like it's just like almost like just ancillary. Yeah. It doesn't, and making it ancillary would actually be beneficial.
Yeah.
Instead of
it could be in the crawl at him,
part of the Force and a tiny abstraction like midi-chlorians.
It's not gonna.
Owning those things and making them abstractions is almost the high road,
because think about the way this works in Star Wars. So they said the word midichlorians 20 years ago.
M counts.
Right. It took them 20 years to say the word again. Not even to say the word, to allude to the word.
Yeah.
I'm out here in the streets being like, I love midichlorians and I love
and it took you almost 20 years to hear it again.
But it's different.
I'm the only one who likes midichlorians. I don't get it. I don't think it's a huge problem. I think some of the best parts of Star Wars. I think the secret sauce of Star Wars is that it's hard sci-fi in areas of the plot that you just
when it needs
overlook.
To be.
And I for me, it's like it's super hard sci-fi in certain areas. And midichlorians was additive in that regard. And I like that.
It doesn't bother me. That's about as far as I can go with it. It doesn't bother me.
Yeah, it doesn't bother me either.
Yeah. But no. There we go.
Right on.
Are we still in the game? Should we move to the
Well, we talked about the movies. I think now or anything else. Any other news?
Okay.
I don't know. Yeah, I mean, again, we can prognosticate about the movies forever, but we'll wait until we're fired and doing this podcast from a bar.
Yeah, there you go. Can't wait. I'm kind of amazed they're doing 2 Star Wars movies in a single year again.
They're
trying to gambit again.
Yeah. And listen, I was on like chat groups being like, guys, you're overreacting to this whole Solo thing. Like, it's fine. There's gonna be more Solo movies, and everyone's like, you're an idiot, and they were right. But they I mean, 2 Star Wars movies in 6 months. I mean, I'm here for it. You know, after like 5 years.
All right. Can we just do a 1, 2, 3 on these? Which one are we most anticipating? Which one do we think might eat the dust, and then which one might surprise us? I don't know. I don't know. Which one are you guys most looking forward?
New Jedi Order
to see. Same.
New Jedi Order. Because we've talked about this episode for a long time, and I love Daisy Ridley, and I love John Boyega, and I want to see them continue on with new leadership and direction and creative input into something exciting, and how they're going to evolve this thing. That's
into an unknown era too. Like the storytelling is wide open. Yeah. So boundless.
And the least one for me is The Mandalorian.
Same.
It's just like it just feels like the deck's stacked against them. Nothing against Filoni. I mean, I've enjoyed all the live action series, and I hope they step up the production value for this feature film.
Yeah.
But still, it's like I kind of can foresee all of this happening. And it's going to be like a war with a chiss, and like there'll be Ahsoka, and there'll be some time travel, and there'll be some. And I'm like, okay, like and we know where it's going to, essentially nowhere, because it doesn't affect the Skywalker saga at all.
Yeah.
Right. It's like Snoke might appear or something.
It's just not that exciting to me, but I've been surprised before. So
I'm right there with you, Ben. I would have to rate that as the movie that I'm happy.
It'll be great. It'll be fun.
I'm
I like it because I like the shows it's based off of, but I don't expect it to blow my mind or do anything like, reinvigorate my love of Star Wars. It'll just be a good Star Wars thing.
Yeah, it'll be fun. I don't want to say Ahsoka's coming out in August. It might totally rearrange my thoughts on all that stuff.
Yeah,
it makes absolute sense that they're ending with a movie. Like, doesn't it make all the sense in the world that they're ending in a movie? It totally makes sense, but it's not exciting.
It's a little Marvel comic universe, and they need to differentiate from it, I think.
Yeah.
There's too much macro going on. I'm worried about the macro and I'm worried about the synergistic interconnectedness and sort of macro storytelling of Star Wars, because I almost think it works better as being these isolated trilogies. Like I don't think trilogies need.
No, I want these 3 movies to be written.
I think they need to be their
and
own
directed completely apart and don't talk to each other.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I mean, and so the one we aren't talking about is Mangold's Dawn of the Jedi, and like that one, it just needs to be a great standalone movie. Like it's free of everything, and it's like it doesn't need to connect to the Skywalker saga at all, or the New Jedi Order, or anything. It just needs to be like, but if it's gonna be that, I want like Gilroy level like dialogue. You know what I mean?
Well, what's great about Dawn of the Jedi is it can really talk about the debate of the Force and like use of the Force and who is using the Force for good, who's using the Force for ill, and theories on the Force and the sort of the early thoughts of the galaxy. You know, I mean, the early thoughts of the galaxy on the Force, like that. To me, that's very interesting territory.
Super interesting.
I would like to see that. I think that's the most anticipated film I have. I was into the Lindelof idea when I heard about the Lindelof idea for New Jedi Order, and like some of those ideas that came out, I really liked them. And then when he walked away, I was I'm just a little worried, just given that I liked those ideas. I know a lot of people didn't, but and I just wonder how commercial this new trilogy is going to be, and how many tie-ins and how synergistic.
It's going to be very
much
commercial.
Marketing is going to happen. And it's obviously it will be. For me, it's like I don't understand. People are out here talking about how Star Wars is political, and that being the debate. I'm like, it's inherently political. Get over it. How commercial is Star Wars? I think it's almost too commercial, and that's when you talk about it being the first big sci-fi indie film. You know, what happened to that? Like, what happened to Star Wars being more contained? The toys are still super, high end, and there's a great rollout and great merch, but they don't have to be as loud as they are. I think the Phantom Menace caused a big disrupt when it was just as loud as it was, and they were trying to get back as much as they did out of it. Like, I think we can go back to a more humble Star Wars. I do not think it needs to be as big and loud as it is. It's weird.
I love that. I don't think it's ever going to happen. I think that's the realm of, like, here's the thing. When people say Star Wars is political, I'm like, yeah, kind of, but have you read the books and the comics? Because that's really where it gets political. Like, do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
like, they do stuff in the books.
Happens.
I'm like, you wouldn't dare doing that in a big movie, because you need your 4 quadrants and you need to be able to sell it overseas, right? And so it just becomes an issue where it's just, here's the thing. I think of Star Wars movies now as the popcorn. They're popcorn films. They're fun.
And is that okay? Are you okay with that? Like, for me, it's like a little distressing. I'm like, I wish there was a little bit more to chew on. I hope the Mangold film really dives into some issues of faith and tackles.
It's the one I think is going to
ideas of maybe church and state and religion. It goes into religion in an interesting way. Comments on religion in an interesting way. I think George built the franchise to comment on religion without evoking a religion, earthly religion.
Yeah, he sort of tied in a bunch of concepts. I mean, it's the back to the Hero of a Thousand Faces and Joseph Campbell and all that, or like in that study. I mean, so, and to me, I mean, I appreciate everything y'all are saying and I agree with it. But for me, it's mythology. And I feel like mythology is something we don't have a lot of, because it's like, you're right, Grant, like religion isn't in the global dialogue that much right now. It's more about nationalism and like there are certainly religious like conflicts happening in the world and all those things, but no one's talking about like mythology. The Star Wars mythology ties us all together, and that's the stuff that I want to get into. And it may not be mainstream and it may come out of left field, but I feel like it's something that it ties all culture and creed together. It's sort of the themes that happen in everyone's religion and mythology and heritage and stuff that are similar. And that's the way I sort of hope they run with these things.
Yeah.
Yeah. We can only hope. Anyways, I'm looking forward to all 3 films. I think we're all in pretty much the same place.
There's not
looking forward to
any of these I'm actively not looking forward to. Right? That I'm gonna be like, this movie. Yeah. But
Dude, I've been watching the like kids show.
I will take all and every Star Wars. Don't worry about it.
When it comes out, it's gonna be nearly 7 years between the last movie and this movie, which is.
So that's maybe why they think they can be like bang, 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 3 movies in 18 months and be like, you're back in now. It's a bold choice, but I love it.
We'll see. And also, things are scheduled to change.
Yeah, I mean, it's just like my expectations versus Lucasfilm's expectations. You know, like I just want 3 quality movies, but Lucasfilm and Disney wants to make $1 billion a movie.
Everyone has to make $1 billion.
You know,
yeah,
indelible, timeless Star Wars,
and it's not my $1 billion
with characters you remember.
Like, can't you see them doing like giving Mangold like $50 million? Just do a $50 million Star Wars. Like, look at Logan.
No.
Like, do you know what I mean? Like, no, but like, I really think that movie's gonna be smaller than we think it's gonna be.
Adam, when you started talking about your movie, I instantly started having visions of what that would be, and I was like, I see it. It's a little like I think we've seen sort of Jesus epics that might have similar like visuals to what you're talking about, that are like pretty contained and low budget, not
like
low budget,
relatively. You're not talking about a $300 million
relatively
movie,
and as a discovery of some sort of powers of some kind happens slowly in just a small setting.
What if it was intentionally lo-fi? Like, what if it was like Ben-Hur? You know, like just to give it an aesthetic that's not like, oh, it's this glistening, clean sort of. Like it's in the past, so it's gonna like they want to make it feel like it's in the past.
Yeah, it's the misstep that Marvel did. Every Marvel movie has to be
glistening,
the same budget and make $1 billion, and then every so often you make an Ant-Man Quantumanium, and it nearly destroys the entire
franchise.
Thing. Yeah. Right, where an Ant-Man movie should be a $70 million movie at most. And then you make a ton of money off of it because it has the word Marvel attached to it, and it's a fun movie, as opposed to making it the centerpiece of your entire thing.
I mean, they kind of did that with I'm gonna say the Witch, not Red Witch. No,
Black Widow.
No, Witch. The one Scarlet Witch. Thank you.
Scarlet Witch.
Not Red Witch.
Sorry.
Well, that's what they're doing in the TV, right? Like,
yeah, but I mean, like they went intentionally lo-fi for the first 3 episodes. And like I don't know, maybe it cost $1 bajillion to do it that way, and they had like interactions and stuff with real time.
No, but I think you're right.
But you know what I mean? Like an intentional like lo-fi movie would be an interesting choice. Yeah.
I also think that's what Solo was before they decided to shoot 2 movies.
Yeah.
Like it was fairly low budget.
That was a beautiful movie though that came out.
And then the problem is that it cost them twice of what they thought. Yeah. If that movie cost what the original budget was, we'd be sitting here going, that movie was a smashing success.
All right. Well,
yeah.
No, because I mean,
it would have made 3 to 4 times its original budget, which would have been huge for them.
Yeah, I mean, but we're talking about a measly $400 million profit instead of a $200 million profit, and it's not $1 billion profit.
But it's about percentage of return, right? You have to make 3 to 4 times your original budget to be considered success. And if it was based on its original budget, it would have made 3 to 4, and it would have been on there. And they'd be like, look, we can make the giant, $400 million Star Wars movies, and then we can make $100 to $200 million Star Wars movies and be successful.
Right. I mean, if there was a Solo sequel, which was a Lando feature film coming out next year, it'd probably make $1 billion.
Yeah. And you shoot it.
I'm just fascinated with the Mangold film, how you back to that film and how you frame it. Sorry.
No, I can see the look in your eye, Grant, and I see the wheels.
You've been pondering something for a while. Do you frame it like Superman, or do you frame it like the Matrix? Like, are there people around them that do know the Force and are bringing them into a new world, or are they alone? You know what I mean? Like that, to me, that framing of how you do that is so interesting.
Yeah, are you talking about the Wills, kid? Really you got to bring the Wills in here?
I'm talking about, are the Wills there to be Morpheus? Like, is that happening?
Or is it? In the beginning so here's the thing, like, because that's the thing, like, right. So if you're doing it like Matrix, you have to have someone who's already attuned and understand why they're attuned, but they find the one, right? So you get there's your Jesus story.
Yeah.
Or if you do it like Superman, you have someone discovering their power, and is there somewhere in between where you have multiple people figuring out simultaneously that they have a connection and then finding each other, which is to me a more interesting, which is like almost like an X-Men.
I would love to see that
type of thing.
Almost like
but you take out Professor X, like take out Professor X.
3 different.
But you have
that's almost the 3 different awakening stories.
People have different, as we've seen in the High Republic. Everyone has a different attunement and strength in the Force. So maybe you have some that are really good at moving things with telekinesis. You have others that are good at like doing a mind trick. Then you have one who just for some reason can do, I don't know, Force lightning, right? Like you have all these things, and you start to realize that
And like, according to, so we just did 2 weeks ago. Don't worry about last week.
Nothing happened. It's all good.
Nothing happened. It's fine.
Nothing happened.
We did the timelines episode, and I'm pretty sure that there's like 500 years between the dawn of the Jedi and the beginning of the like sect that breaks off to become the Sith and the dark side users.
All right, so that sect is not the light sect that broke. The Ordu Aspectu are not the sect that broke off to be the Sith. They are a sect that are like utterly passive and don't believe in any violence.
Okay.
At all. And I think they're in Karen Gillan's run of Darth Vader.
So, like, I've seen conflicting things. There's like one where it's like, I think Order Respecting might become the Jedi as we know them, and then there was another group that broke off to be the Sith.
See, you're on. I think we just cracked probably the greatest story idea of all time, which is what if the original Jedi sect is the Sith? And
I love it.
Some
turn
into the branch is
perfect.
The Jedi,
right? Yeah,
Bang.
There you go.
There you go, Mangled.
All right, call us Mangled.
Yeah, it's fine. We're right here. coreworldnews@gmail.com.
Yep, that's not going to change anytime soon.
As long as we work here. Not worried about our employment.
Yep.
Yeah,
it's all good. We're all fine.
We're fine. Everything's good here.
Yeah,
that's great. How are you?
That was a little pretentious. We don't mean that. We just love getting on these ideas and talking about stuff. But
it's good times. It's good times.
No.
So do you guys want to talk about 4 different runs of comics right now?
Sure.
All right, good. All right, so this is what's going to happen. I'm going to go and Grex hates this when I do this, but I'm going to actually press some music. So now you're hearing the introduction to Kyber Crystal Comics Corner. Kyber Crystal Comics Corner. All right, here we are.
Good.
Nailed it. That was like actually pitch for pitch. You've got real talent there, man.
Well done.
All right, so we're going to cover 4 comic runs. So the 4 comics, man, we adore them. We read them. We internalize them. They have great influence on everything else in the galaxy far, far away. But we've just been so wrapped up in all the lovely other series and the High Republic live action series and things like that. And also the comic arcs are getting longer and doing interesting things. So we're going to catch up with 4 right now. We're going to, in this order, we're going to cover the Star Wars main run, Aphra, Bounty Hunters, and Vader. There's also, and this is all following the Marvel Unlimited schedule, which means it's 6 months behind.
Yeah.
Sorry, you're welcome. This is for you, Casual Jason. I know you're also on Marvel Unlimited, so you can.
I think the majority of comic consumers at this point, and Grant, I think you're muted. So the majority of comic consumers, I think, go with Unlimited at this point.
Yeah,
you were saying, Grant.
This is casual
Kyber Crystal Comics Corner. Wait,
oh my God, the old casual. 5 C's.
That's far too much to say.
Yeah, that's so funny. But listen, I feel a part of my soul missing when I don't follow up with the comics, and it's been so fun. Same. I've just been like binging all of the comics that I've missed out on. They're fantastic stories. The art's amazing. The writers are amazing. Everything's great. So with that out of the way, we're going to start with Star Wars, and we're going to cover issues 26, 27, and 28. This is written by Charles Soule. GOAT in my mind. They're all great, but Soule, holy cow.
Yeah, Soule's all-time.
Yep. And then Andres Genoulet, Rochelle Rosenberg, and VC's Clayton Cowles. So where we are right now, the rebellion has made progress in a struggle to free the galaxy from Imperial rule. General Leia Organa has finally triumphed over the cruel commander Zara, who massacred multiple rebel squadrons. In another corner of the galaxy, Luke Skywalker set out the secrets of the Jedi to improve his connection to the Force. His journey culminated in the discovery of a mysterious book linked to the Jedi. It's one of the sacred texts. Despite the progress, the threat of the Empire looms as large as ever. In the wake of the crushing defeat on Hoth, the capture of Captain Han Solo, and the slaughter at the hands of Commander Zara, the heroes of the rebellion will need many more victories to weaken the Empire's grip over the galaxy. Okay, so that's just setting the stage here. And in 26, what do you want to do? Do you want to just go issue by issue? Well, I don't want to just sit here and talk.
When did Luke put on the Imperial outfit? That's all I remember.
Yeah,
sit drip.
Yeah.
And it was, where's that black suit?
Maybe
with yellow saber.
Yeah.
So obscure.
Let's do kind of a speed run, right?
Obscure.
Like I'm gonna give you the first issue, talk about the issue, second issue, and if there's anything that pops out. We'll start it this way. Okay. Issue 26, The Path to Victory. The rebellion strikes on Barleth. Oh my gosh. And I've got, all right. On Imperial Unity Day parade, they striked on struck. And they destroy an entire battalion of Imperial vehicles in their dormant state, publicly defying the Imperial propaganda's assertions that the rebellion is dead. As the rebellion looks to plan their next move and reestablish supply lines, the story shifts to 2 Crimson Dawn sleeper agents. So Crimson Dawn's a big deal. This is all going. Like, also, I should mention all of these sort of intertwine.
Lady Kira has made a disturbance.
Or Auntie Q, as she's referred to in this. But yeah, so they're we should mention this is going into some Hidden Empire. Right. But this is like an end game plan of Kira where she activates all her people to just like cause havoc and be a distraction, which is really.
And the Crimson Dawn network is extensive.
Yeah, it goes everywhere. So it extends to these 2 people. So
found that.
So the 2 Crimson Dawn sleeper agents at an Imperial black site, codename Second Son. The 2 agents, Lieutenant Melton and wife Bevlin, abscond from their black site, which is none other than the second Death Star, with their kids in a stolen Lambda-class shuttle. So this thing, it's like you get this really cool story about this thing, and this family that lives on the second Death Star, helping it work, but they had made a commitment to Kira a long time ago. They're sleeper agents, and they're just like, the Empire's wrong, and we're going to do what we can from the inside. It's not convenient for them. It's not the right time. They're under a ton of pressure. They have 2 little kids to look after. But Kira says it's go time, and they're like, are we going to do this? And they look at each other in the eyes, and they say, we're going to do this. Right. And I think all they're really, I think they decide the best thing they can do is just tell the rebellion about where they are and what they're doing.
Yeah. So I got to start out with a quick question. I'm going to start off on a real downer. So we get this, is it Jarjaron, the Imperial, the person in charge?
Jarjaron.
So he talks about, what are we going to do?
Did you just call him Jar Jar?
I did, Jar Jar.
It's not his name, but that's funnier.
It's his mind made. So we get to the point where he's asked, like, what are you doing to protect this station?
Ooh, yeah.
And the big thing is, like, no one's in or out. The people who come in here live here with their families.
Yeah.
As the Death Star is being constructed. Now, I'm stealing this a little bit from the diatribe that happens in the movie Clerks from 30 years ago. But boy, did they up the ante on this. So when the rebels blow up the Death Star, are they killing a bunch of families?
Yes.
Okay, cool.
Yes.
Cool.
Short answer,
yes.
Yes.
Lots of material.
That's going to make me really watch Return of the Jedi in a different way. Yikes.
Yeah, no, there's a lot of kids on there.
A lot of kids. Oh man. Okay.
Yeah. So it actually that's the other side plot that's true here. I'm giving the high level thing, but they it's an Imperial audit. It's like an ISB audit is happening on this black site, and that's sort of the vehicle through which the story is told.
Andor did this on Aldhani, remember, with the family they show there, the sort of Imperial, the family living in Imperial housing. Yeah.
Aldhani.
It's the Death Star. I imagine. Yeah, of course. Yeah. The Death Star had housed lots and lots of experts.
Yeah, I'm fine with experts and professionals being, exploded into stardust, but
they're condoning the fascist regime of the Empire.
So are the 3-year-olds.
That's what you have to weigh in your comments.
Just saying. Really. I'm not saying the rebels shouldn't have blown up the Death Star. I'm just saying it sits a little different now when I watch that movie of Triumph.
Yeah. Yeah. And that seems like a very Sewell thing to do. He's just like, oh no, there's kids. Don't worry about it. No, it was devastating. It was heart-wrenching. Yeah. But hey, it was a tough decision to make.
I wasn't thinking about that directly when I was thinking about this. I was just thinking about, I love undercover missions. I
thought these issues were awesome. I think
this is just some of the best spy. This is just fun spy writing where it's actually taking the fun lore, camp elements we love, and just making fun little spy network stories. And Crimson Dawn is, in the shadows plotting, and everyone, you don't know who's working. What in this new run of comics across Vader, Aphra, Star Wars main run, Hidden Empire, all this stuff, you find out, you're like, who is working for who? Some people are working for the Emperor directly. Yeah. Some people are working for Crimson Dawn. Some people are working for Vader. Some people are, Vader's sort of turned into Robin to Batman, Ochi to Vader, like the Ochi kind of character in the comics has just become the sidekick to Vader. It's so funny.
Yeah.
It's just it's all about kind of who's the employer. That's kind of the central theme I've found in reading a lot of these. I'm like, who's secretly working for Kira? Who's secretly working for the Emperor?
Oh yeah.
What's happening here?
Right.
That's kind of been my big thing I've been honing in on.
Yeah.
I think it's so much fun, and I think that I like the Crimson Dawn storyline.
Yeah, we'll talk about bounty hunters later, and it's like those are all freelance contractors, right? So it's like they don't even know who each other's working for. It's so many different factions. So they go. So episode 27, The Good People. Melton, Bev, and the kids are pursued across the galaxy with a stolen Death Star. That's not true. They don't have the stolen Death Star plans. And attempt to contact a skeptical rebellion in exchange for asylum. They are constricted to locations that are pre-programmed into the Lambda shuttle. And everywhere they go, they are met with Imperial aggression because all the locations are Imperial sites, obviously. They go to the river moon of Aldeem, Pazval, and then finally he's like, okay, Melton's like, let's just go to Coruscant because they feel like they can disappear there. They crash land on level 2685 while the rebellion reviews their request. Lucky for them, Luke has a good feeling about the lead. So harrowing chase through the galaxy. They head out there. They send a message. They have an old code that can contact the rebellion. And it gets through, and just so happens Lando's in the room. And he's like, sounds like he's like, nothing's that easy. Like nothing. There's no way there's someone coming from a black site just telling us stuff because they want that,
His direct quote is, that's a trap,
yes,
right?
Exactly.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But then, really cool, team meeting with the rebellion, and Luke is there. He's like, no, let's check that one out. He's like, let's talk about that one. It's cool.
Yeah.
That's exactly what
I love that we spend so much of this comic with just the family, right? Like we get little cutaways to the rebel, but I love a side story, and we'll talk about it when we get through all three. But this felt like a very Star Wars. This felt very Star Warsy to me, even though it wasn't with your main people for a lot. Yeah,
Sewell's the GOAT, bro. Like, I would trust him to write any script for any Star Wars at any time. He he's worked on so many different projects at this point, and he just gets the tone, he gets the snark, he gets the comedy. He gets the intensity, the gravity. Like, he just is really good at writing Star Wars stories.
And the heartache, the heavy stuff, too. Like, I love the moment where they crash and the family's like asking all these people for help. And they're like,
nope.
No, sorry. Yeah, we got the Empire on you. We're going.
Yeah.
I'm loving the main run. I think it's
me too. Yeah,
best we've had in a while. So. Yeah, Sewell's great at doing main run. He captures all the character voices perfectly.
That's really it. Okay, 28, The Calculus of Loss. Melton, Bev, and kids destroy the Lambda shuttle and attempt to hide on Coruscant while Luke goes undercover as an Imperial officer and searches for the family. There it is. Yeah.
I remember that issue because I remember reading that and being like, oh, this should be a action figure because it's so weird. I was like, you'd never see Luke in Imperial garb, and then the yellow lightsaber is not the green or the blue. It's
it's sexy. It's really sexy.
So they're go for it. Finished up.
The family fights off sewer creatures and security forces from the first scene of Jedi Survivor. I don't know if you caught that. It's hard to miss.
That's right.
With the helmets that look like male anatomy, and are ultimately saved by Luke Skywalker and debriefed at the Rebellion convoy. Mon Mothma heroically announces that if they can destroy a Death Star once, they can do it again.
Yeah, I loved this episode or this issue. One thing I thought was really funny is you talk about him wearing the Imperial uniform.
Yeah.
There's a little fun line where another one of the other crew was like, "I think you look really good in black."
Yes.
And he looks down, so I was like, "You think? You think so?" Like just this moment of like, "That's great."
Sewell just took that moment to be like, "Let's just lay some groundwork for why he rocks black in Return of the Jedi."
Yeah. I also love that it's a Star Wars, right? It's a Star Wars. It ends with triumph, that everyone's safe. They are there. And finding out there's a second Death Star is not this moment of just like, oh, we're toast.
Yeah.
Right? I love the Mon Mothma of like, we did it once, we'll do it again.
Yeah.
Yeah. And just that great moment of leadership was awesome.
A huge growth moment for Mon Mothma. I mean, I can't wait to see how she grows in the next season of Andor. But and becomes who she is. But you could draw a line from Rogue One to this issue of this comic book, right? Where she's like, kind of like, I don't know, we need to get consensus. What are we going to do? To like, nope, this is what we're going to do because this is the right thing to do.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah. I mean, I love the art. I love everything in this issue. I think this is one of the best issues of the run so far.
Yeah.
What's the one after this one? Because I remember that being pretty good as well.
That's No Space. So now that's when they start going to the No Space. So this is the
I thought No Space was 30 or maybe 29.
So I think we'll a little spoiler, but I think they end up they start on another mission in 29 and they end in No Space.
That's right. No, I have read the No Space issues. Okay. Yeah.
Some of them, right?
Yeah.
So they're not all done yet. So the next arc is kind of their trip in the No Space. But I think 29 ends with them officially coming out of hyperspace in No Space.
Yeah.
So we'll talk about that when that arc finishes up soon, probably in the next few weeks.
The first time you said that, I forgot about it, but I did read those. I just sort of went through and read everything that was out right now.
That's available. Yeah, you're probably right in the middle of that No Space arc.
I am. Where
Holdo, Sewell put Holdo and Lando together. It was almost too much swag in one scene where I was like, oh, this happened. Like,
and
this is
a little trashy, smashy.
Yeah.
And
the next arc, which I like you get a lot more Holdo, Lando.
I was like, where's this
action.
show? Or like, if we do the Lando series, maybe young Holdo.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. Like in the series,
I know
like,
they seem to meet in this issue though. But
yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I'm definitely shipping on Holdo and Calrissian. That's pretty great.
Yeah.
A couple free spirits just stuck in a prison on in No Space. It happens.
Totally.
So that's the end of this arc for all intents and purposes right now. So that's what we're talking about. But I think Adam, you have information about Aphra.
Yeah. So I'm going to cover Aphra issues 23, 22, 23, 24, 25. So this is kind of half of a really big, massive arc, but there's kind of a clear kind of cutoff here. It's called The Spark Eternal. I'm going to do a little different than Ben. I wrote up one long summary, and that's because
I did the exact same thing. Because I was like, Ben's doing this issue for issue. I love how thorough he's being. I basically surmised mine.
Especially because this has multiple, this issue has you're following three different groups. They're jumping back and forth. So I just kind of wrote it up as one, trying to succinctly summarize it. So here we go. So after being possessed by the Spark Eternal, Aphra is forced to relive some of her worst memories and betrayals. During this, the Spark determines that the Ascended technology is aboard the Vermilion, the stronghold of Crimson Dawn. However, Aphra is able to turn the tables and access the Spark's memory, where she discovers that the Ascended existed during the time of the Sith and developed their technology to mimic the Force in order to fight the Darksiders. In the end, the Sith slaughtered them all, and the Spark was locked away. The Spark reveals that the plan is to incorporate all of the malignant, quote-unquote malignant artifacts and technology that Dr. Aphra has found, starting with 000 and BT. Meanwhile, Sonostaros recruits Magna Tolvan, another of Afra's exes, in an attempt to mount a rescue mission, which brings them to Baruke and the Dark Droids. After a brief fight, the droids join the rescue mission, and they figure out that Afra and the Spark are aboard the Vermilion. Meanwhile, Just Lucky and RLU, working for Roman Tag, arrive at the Vermilion looking for Afra and the Spark. They immediately find her and are soon running for their lives when they cross paths with Staros and her gang and warn them to get the heck out. Dr. Afra's friends put into plan a trap to trap the Spark and declare they are here to rescue Afra. During all of this, Afra is still trapped inside her memories and makes a connection with Morel, the leader of the Ascendant. The two join forces and fight through multiple memories. So, Ben, you may have been away from keyboard at the moment, but I did one summary for the entire half arc.
Oh, for the whole arc.
Yeah, great. So we can kind of go into it as we see fit. I have two lore bombs, which I love, that are in Afra. The first is the Dark Seekers. Did you pick up on the Dark Seekers?
So cool.
Yeah. What are they?
I remember reading that.
Yeah, the Dark Seekers are the Sith that attack the Ascendant in Morel's memories, and they're developed to hunt threats that basically hunt any threat to the Sith. They're just like this force that hunts threats to the Sith, which I'm like, great, more of that, please.
A plus.
That's so cool.
Yeah. And then we have the Null Blade, which is the blade that Afra uses, made of catorsis.
Which is pre-established in canon as
old EU,
cutting off lightsaber abilities, right?
It's like cortosis is like legends.
Yeah, exactly. But it interrupts lightsaber blades, basically.
And we saw it again in the Thrawn trilogy with Anakin, right? They made droids out of cortosis, and then that factory was destroyed by Thrawn in conjunction with Anakin Skywalker.
I love these comics because I'm a little further along and I'm into some of the newer issues. And Domina Tag has become one of my favorite sort of like new characters. And I just love Alyssa Wong's approach to those characters. And I love the Spark Eternal storyline was awesome. Like I absolutely love this storyline. But now I'm just like, I'm in love with the world building.
Agreed.
Kind of in the Afra run right now. And that's kind of where I'm at. I think Dominic Tag is a super cool character. Ronan Tag. I love a lot of the characters. Magna Tolvan. It was cool to see that character come back. Sana Staros, which we'll cover her run. I think we're at issue
5 just came out this week. And she has her own she has her own comic, which is really, really good so far. I'm really enjoying it.
It's so good. It's just,
Ireland, no kidding.
I
was just about to ask you who wrote it. Oh,
really.
Dude, I love that combo.
We talk about Spurrier, who is kind of my all-time run on Afra, and he was so good at doing the lore stuff. And I've been adjusting to Alyssa Wong's storytelling, and what I realized is one of her biggest strengths is the characters. Right, understanding the characters and figuring out how all these characters interact, and reading these 4 issues in a row. And watching them like jump from group to group and interacting with each other is like, oh, she's got all of these characters down and how they would interact with her. So I'm really enjoying the world building, the character building.
Fantastic.
Wonderful.
Yeah, it's active world building. It's not like here, let me give you a bunch of exposition about the past, which I thought Spurrier did so well. Like it blew me away, honestly. And then I thought this active world building is refreshing. It's fun to go in this direction. And some of the characters, again, that Domina Tag, other characters I think are so cool. Fentu Zen, that character's pretty sweet.
No, they all have their own personalities and their motivations at this point.
Yeah.
It's like, what is that from Kill Bill, the like something 5? Oh, the Fox Force 5.
Fox Force 5.
Yeah. It's a little bit Fox Force 5. But yeah.
Are you kidding me? That's the best possible vibe, if you ask me.
They're kind of great, and they all have their own things. And I love the archivist's like role in all this.
Just Lucky's a cool character too. I like.
Yeah, Just Lucky's grown on me. I'm like, how are you trying to name a guy Just Lucky?
Right,
but it works.
It works.
It works. I like it. There's a guy named Don't Join and a guy named Just Lucky. Where's that issue where they work together?
Don't Join and Just Lucky. Oh man, that's a crazy team up. Just like he would be old by the time he met Don't Join them.
I was gonna say, or DJ would be young. Like they probably are relatively around the same age.
Yeah. Just Lucky. That's a sweet name, man.
Maybe Just Lucky turns into Don't Join.
Mind blown.
Whoa. Yeah. Big theories. Big moves.
JL into DJ.
Yeah.
Breaking news.
Wait, so in this arc run, have they run into certain droids of a kind of demeanor yet? They have?
Yeah. Okay, so we get that kind of like they find, which we need to talk about 000 and BT in Hawaiian garb.
Yeah.
It's kind of amazing.
Yeah. So like, I mean, Afra being Afra, she's a sweetheart when it really boils down to it. And she has a soft spot in her heart for her murder droids. And she's like tried to put them in a place with all of her secret information that they would be comfortable, but she didn't put them in a place with enough people to murder.
Yeah.
But she put them on like this like island oasis retreat, and they're like wearing their like Hawaiian leis and like grass hats. And they're like just like terrible murder droids. And and it's just like anyone who comes there, just those two are, I mean, are just two of the greatest characters ever written. And like, it's so
I cannot wait. We're also getting at some point in the near future, in the next couple months, we're getting a miniseries called, I think, Dark Droids, and it's all these droids together. Like it's basically like, it looks like it's the Magnificent Seven, but for droids.
Okay. So, we talked about at the top of this episode 6 hours ago, the BX droid that like is in the new video game.
Trench.
Wearing a trench coat. Like they keep
Ben was like, hold on, I need to finish that.
Yeah, right. You're like trench. Like they keep teasing the droid Gotra.
Yeah, right.
Come just on. Flirting with it, but it's like it's make
right there.
The droid Gotra like a real part of Star Wars. Like, let's like exist with the droid Gotra. We got a little bit of the Mandalorian that bar.
I really thought they were going to give it to us when I saw that preview of the Mandalorian, and then not so much.
Yeah, but so in Galactic Basic, like the Gotra is like. It really primarily showed up in a weird book about Han Solo's like early days, and I'm forgetting the name of it now. But the
Free Fall, there's the Most Wanted.
Maybe it was Most Wanted actually
with Kira and Han, and then it was also a little bit in.
It was Most Wanted.
Yeah. Okay.
I mean, maybe there's more with the Gotra. There was also
calculating.
Maybe that Lando and Han thing later, but it's like there exists a like criminal syndicate that's made up entirely of droids called the Droid Gotra.
Yeah,
and that is like, give me more about that. It would be so expensive to do probably in live action, and maybe that's why they're just flirting with it. But it's like, let's like. I want to see their rise to power and know what they're doing and just like what are their motivations, because I bet they're really motivated by peace and they just want a place in the galaxy with like equal rights,
Right. Yeah.
They're not really trying to take over everything. They just need an economy and some freedom. And like, that's a story I want to hear. Anyways, sorry for the droid Gotra side tangent.
I like it. Like the droid Robin Hood story or something.
Yeah, maybe that, but not. Yeah, I mean the droid Malcolm X story or the droid like
Yeah. Oh, I love it.
Yeah.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah, I don't know. That's a fascinating.
But like willing to hack people and like empty their bank accounts and stuff like that. Like what are droids doing to people? You know what I mean? Like what are they doing?
Is like they have unlimited capabilities. They can do kind of if they wanted to.
I feel like they could hack into someone. They slice into your computers or your droids. Your companion droids.
I mean, they could bring the galaxy to its knees if they wanted to, but
very easily.
But they don't want to. Like they just want equality. Like how fascinating a story is that? Like they just want to participate because they know they are smart enough to understand that they are symbiotic relationship with with life forms, and they just want to like maintain that balance. I mean that's the Force 2.0 in a lot of ways.
That's some new Jedi Order stuff. Yeah. It's like droids would like to be represented in the Senate.
Right?
It's like,
right? Like that's a huge thing. Okay. I'm sorry, I digress. Also, the Eternals.
No, that was great. That sounds like the Techno reunion arc of the Vader run that's happening with Greg Pak right now.
I don't know if I'm on the Techno reunion yet. I love that though.
Not yet. Okay, you're not on Techno. Yeah. I can't wait. I cannot wait.
I'm in, dude. Everyone loves a good Techno union high five.
Yeah, it'll be a reunion one this time.
Cool.
What are we on now? We did Star Wars. We did Afra.
Bounty Hunters. Sorry, Grant. We're saving you for last, buddy.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, okay. Fine. Well, I guess I did this the wrong way then, because I have like a wall of text. So there's two arcs here, right? The first arc is Havoc at the Accretion Disco, part 1 and 2.
Possibly the greatest title.
I know, yeah, Panic at the Disco, but it's Havoc at the Accretion Disco. So I'm just going to paraphrase this because I don't want to read 4 paragraphs of text here right now. Like, our team of Tianga and company have been hired to like protect a Pike Syndicate person, and it's at this party at the Accretion Disco, and there's no pleasure without pain, right? So this disco is like the space station that's hovering in like the immediate vicinity of a black hole, and I have the name of the black hole here because it's amazing. And it's called the Cursia, the Cursia black hole, Creih, which is an amazing name that someone came up with. Probably Ethan Sachs, Paulo Villanelli, RF Prianto, or VC's Travis Lanham. Probably Ethan Sachs. And they need to protect this guy, but then Tasu Leech, being Tasu Leech, gets like fronted about not being hardcore enough, about being part of
that's right.
Of the blah blah blah. Which syndicate is he? Insults from the client. Oh, the Kanji Club. Yeah, Kanji Club.
Yeah. Shout out to Kanji Club.
And one guy you don't like, beef with is Tasu Leech. So he just goes ahead and kills the guy. And they have to run out of there screaming. And sure enough.
I remember this issue.
It's really read. Like 2 issues that I'm sort of here. And and then there's a side plot with Valance, who is been recruited, essentially forced into slave labor by Darth Vader. And he's been tasked with ferreting out Crimson Dawn moles within the Imperial military. And he's starting a little romance with a cyborg, sort of like cyborg light Imperial officer named Jayala. Jayala. So he's like existing there, and that's like a parallel story. But so this is the first stuff, but it's wild, and there's a lot of Bosk being Bosk, which is cool. And that's it.
Yeah.
Anything else, you guys?
Isn't there some Zuckuss stuff?
Yeah, 4-LOM and Zuckuss stuff. It gets a
little
Zuckuss
more. Is bigger in the Bedlam of Bastine, which is the next
sorry,
one.
4-LOM. 4-LOM, I mean.
4-LOM,
sorry.
Yeah.
It's more 4-LOM, right? Because
yeah.
There were some good. I just remember some good moments. Tianga, I love as a character too. I think there's some great world building in Bounty Hunters. Like I'm loving the new characters. I'm almost loving when the comics do couple legacy characters, but really extend themselves with new characters.
Yeah.
To me, that paints a canvas, and it's fun when you start.
You realize this directly contradicts your earlier statements about how you like sprinkle in like legacy characters with new characters, but okay.
I've been known to
it all depends on how it's done.
Right, but this is a classic example where they really introduced a lot of new characters in this Bounty Hunters run, but like it's like 50-50 new characters and legacy characters. And it makes for a fun mix.
Which makes sense, right? Because it's hard to tell like character evolving stories with things like Zuckuss, 4-LOM, and Bosk, right? Like it's a little hard to do that. So you want to introduce these other characters that you also have free reign with. Like you can do anything to these characters, and I guarantee you, Star Wars is like you cannot kill or have any major changes to Bosk, Forlom, Zuckuss, IG-88, or Dengar. Valance. I mean, do we have to talk about Valance? So
we will.
I know we will. But here's the thing. This is I don't know how to say this without coming out as a light insult, but I'm just gonna say is like this is the bounty hunters I was envisioning when they told me there was gonna be a bounty hunter series, right? We have a group of bounty hunters, bounty hunting, and being on missions. Yeah. I'm very happy with this. What's going on? Yeah.
That's pretty.
I almost wish it was a murder mystery, like someone's hunting the bounty.
That'd be a good. Yeah, let's do that.
Yeah, I would love that. Well, it might happen soon. So the next arc is 4 issues. Bedlam at Bestine, I think, is the overall thing, and then the 4 titles are Bedlam at Bestine, Chaos on Bestine, the Coming Inferno, and then 32, The Fate of Zuckuss.
Do you think the beaches are better on Bestoon or Bestine?
Bestoon for
definitely.
Sure.
Definitely Bestoon.
Definitely Bestoon. Man, I'm like, where do I even start with this? It's just a wall of text.
Just tell us how it was. Like, tell us what happened. It's all right,
bro. It Bounty Hunters is so interconnected, and it has like so many different factions. I mean, essentially, you have our like main team, which is like Tianga and Tasu Leech and Forlom and Zuckuss and Bosk, right? Are kind of doing their thing. And, you know, they're like fresh off this mission, and then they get tied into a mission to try to save a rebellion outpost. And then meanwhile, on the other side, you have Vader with Valance and his crew, Jayala, and they have like a bunch of organics in Valance crew, which is kind of weird. They have their own Trandoshan, which is the same species as Bosk, and a couple others. And essentially they are on a collision course, and it's like Vader is telling them like these rebels are going to they want to rob our medical supplies, and then you have the rebellion saying they're going to all they're doing is bringing in more weapons, and sure enough they're just bringing in more weapons, and Vader was lying. And the two groups meet each other, and then an ultimate truth is told, which we learned in the last arc of the Bounty Hunters, well, 2 arcs ago now, that man, Bylord Valance is like ex-wife, I guess, former girlfriend that he's been trying to stash within the rebellion so that she'll be safe, was murdered. And Vader recruited him, being like essentially under blackmail, being like, I will kill your wife if you don't do my bidding. And but it turns out he just killed her immediately anyways, and she was already dead. So upon this meeting, Valance understands the truth and goes after Vader. And you know, by all intents and purposes, Valance gets his butt kicked, but you literally can't kill him. He is like T-2000, dude. Like you can't kill that guy.
Sure can't.
I was about to say, if you go to a comic convention dressed up as Valance, people are going to be like, "Oh, so Terminator, right?"
Right. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
He literally, and
you know what I mean?
You know,
like, that's just the response you're going to get. I would get the deep cut. I would get it, but I feel like 85% of people would be like,
I want to do the opposite and go dress up as a Terminator, and how many people come up to me and say, "Are you Valance?"
Are you Valance? Right? You just wear like a blue uniform and with half your face sheared off and just exposing, you know, like the mechanics underneath.
Yeah.
And that's pretty much it. I mean, it's a lot about Valance there. He gets drawn out.
Is it the mirror for Vader? Is that why he's interesting? Is it interesting?
I think you're presupposing that he's interesting.
Oh boy,
is Valance not nostalgia in comic form?
It was nostalgia. Like
this is what happened when the comics were weird in the Marvel era. Let's do it again now and make sure that's potent again, just so it keeps the same weird like.
But it's not weird enough. Be weirder then.
I feel.
Yeah, be weird. Have him be at a bar and just be weird. Like, he's in such strenuous situations. Like, why can't he just like lay back,
Lay back, Valance, because he's a machine. He's like, he can't lay back. What's he gonna do?
He's like, he's so distressed constantly.
Yeah, I don't know, bro. Like it's just so funny. Like
he's thrown through the wood chipper, is what I'd say. That's
he's
kind of
too
I feel like
emo,
how the characters.
and he spends the next several issues, which after this, just sitting with the bounty hunter group, moping in the back seat, and I'm just like, you are a 16-year-old. Stop. I mean, I know your ex-wife is dead.
But
I don't care,
bro. Yeah, and you're right. He's so emo. I mean, I would say like the nostalgia thing was accomplished like 4 comic runs ago that he's been in because he's been in so many. It's just like, stop trying to make Bylert Valance happen. It's not gonna happen.
You don't need him.
What if Valance beats Vader? And then when he beats Vader, he sees how like enraged Vader is, and he's like, "Oh, well, I want none of that."
No, if Valance beats Vader, that may be the end of me actually reading anything Star Wars.
Yeah,
that may do it for me. That may be where I'm just like,
that's when
that might be it. Like here's the thing. Like, I don't know why. I don't know why. Because like, it's not called Valance. I've made this argument a million times, and I'm annoyed that I have to keep making it. It's not called Valance. It's called Bounty Hunters, and we had a perfectly good Bounty Hunters comic going.
Yeah.
And then when they got Valance back, I'm like, oh man, we're doing this stuff again. I can't wait until we may or may not get rid of our
I know
thing.
Yeah, and the thing was
like so bad.
Yeah, like Valance was like out and out, just like he's like, all right, you have no hold over me anymore, Vader, because clearly like that blackmail's gone, and he like.
But didn't they set up new factions with Valance, like the Unbroken Clan, the Hidden Hand, or something?
Sure. Yeah.
There are like new factions tied to Valance that I thought they were gonna like open up.
They are still doing some of that. The Unbroken Clan stuff is definitely gets bigger in the upcoming runs. Like that comes back around to it, and especially in Hidden Eye with what's it, Chalmuda? No, what's the name of that kid?
Yeah,
Chalandra.
There were a lot of doors that they opened, Cordelia. And I was like, okay, we have to see this out, I guess.
Yeah.
With these
it's good.
Yeah. Which you can do all that with Valance dead.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. So
Valance. Minus Valance. Wait, did Valance just become our Dengar?
It's been mine for a while. I like Dengar now. I'm like back on board.
They
Dengar.
did a nice run with Dengar. They made him human, and I thought it was kind of cool. Yeah. To know that like Dengar has a lost love on a different planet sort of humanized him for me.
Yeah.
We were pretty ruthless about Dengar.
We did some
first 200 episodes.
And we did some. Yeah, we got some good IG-88 action in the.
Yeah, so let's talk about Vukora for a second. Vukora is struggling to maintain control over the Unbroken Clan now that word has gotten out about the existence of a rightful heir to the Syndicate throne. So the proverbial Lothcat is out of the bag, with Cordelia being protected by Crimson Dawn, so people know who she is. But Vukora is still trying to be the leader there. She kills the current leader. She's, leading with Iron Fist. And she's hired IG-88.
Speaking of ruthless, that character, truly, like, ruthless. Kind of an awesome character. I love Vukora.
Yeah, she's a bad girl. And, so she's hiring IG-88 to just murder other syndicates. We get to see the, like, systematic destruction of the Sun Tool Pride. Which is a bunch of Rhodians. And we learned about this. We did an episode a while back about different, I think it was a pre-episode to Boba Fett, where we were talking about different crime syndicates that could show up. But the Sun Tool Pride was a Dark Horse one.
Right.
And and so Cordelia like destroys them with IG-88, and we don't know what IG-8's like next mission is, but he's out there. But a lot of that, Vukora's been a big part of this Bounty Hunter series, and she's still vying for power. And she really likes cats.
And I was gonna say we get a lot of backstory in these issues, with building off the last arc where she killed what's her name? Neku? Is it Neku? I can't remember.
Yeah, Neku.
Is it Neku?
No, that's Neku from Survivor. It's that cat from the from Attack of the Clones.
From episode 2.
Nexus.
Nexus.
Oh, bro.
Oh no.
Sorry to ground it to all. But I will say that we get that, like we get a lot of that going on, and then we get
Nexu.
Nexu. There we go. I got
Minus
well done. But we get that, and then we get the fact that she, as a child, had to kill her own loath cat, right?
Yeah.
Like which is brutal. But I'm also like, yeah, I get it. Like,
I love that story is still hanging on, because it was like, I mean, as an owner of a pet, it's just like,
it was rough.
If you want to go John Wick, have your pet killed. Like it will lead you to a rage that you did not know you were capable of. And it happens here. And so here, like 6, 7, 8 issues down, we're still feeling the reverberations of that through both the perpetrator and the and the people who suffered the loss. So
it earns the fact that at times it might have felt like a senseless act of violence in a book, but because it's reverberating, it seems important to character development on both ends, which I appreciate. Right. Yeah, so no, it was a good one.
I guess I didn't really talk too much about the fate of Zuckuss. Issue 32, we get a Zuckuss backstory about his sort of like rite of passage to become the next Finesman of his clan. Which is wild on his home planet.
On the planet Gand.
Correct. So he's not wearing his like rebreathers, and I guess he's kind of the runt of the litter. Does everything right. Wins the flower that gains him his next thing, despite being bullied by the larger Gans. Then defeats the Chimera, the Cormac, that, and still doesn't get the accolades that he deserves. So he goes out on his own. So we get this sort of like backstory, and essentially all they're doing is they're being pursued by none other than our Inferno Squad from the Battlefront 2 storyline and accompanying novel, Iden Versio and Company, which is a really cool tie-in. I'm glad they did that. They're a really fun faction. And I know like the next issues are going to be
the whole next arc is about Inferno Squadron.
Yeah,
so,
pretty wild.
Exciting.
But this issue 32, the end of this arc, is them just escaping through this. What is it called? It's called a force wave. A force wave released.
Yes.
Yeah.
So
in another parallel story.
That ties into Hidden Empire, and boy, does it reverberate through a lot of the other comic issues later on. Weirdly, like it's interesting how this this is part of the issue. No pun intended, you have when you have a multi-part overlay. Yeah. Like, this is 6 months ago that this happened in Bounty Hunters. And there are things happening right now in Vader, I think, that deal with this force wave. Yeah. So, like, it's all over the place time-wise, which I'm like, please stop doing comic crossovers. Yeah. And this is not Star Wars. This is Marvel, too, because there's delays and then everything lines up weird and then like it just doesn't make sense.
Yeah. But anyway, I'm looking forward to Hidden Empire quite a bit. I've already sort of dipped my toes into it, and I'm like, that's sort of where all these comic arts are all like angling towards Hidden Empire. That's really going to be the sort of Avengers Endgame sort of culmination of a lot of these story arcs. So that should be pretty cool.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. Should we finish out with Vader?
Let's do it. Let's finish up with Vader, man.
All right, let's jump to Vader. So we did Vader 24 to 28, and that starts with Old Friends, and written by Greg Pak. Marco Castillo is the artist. Carlos Lopez, the colorist. Species. Joe Caramagna is the letterer, and the rest of the issues: No Calm Before the Storm, Into the Sand, The Queen's Heart, and Shadow in the Fire. The artist is Raphael Ienco, so just the artist changed up, but I believe that is the complete arc of what happened on Gabrador 3. So, quick summary: when Sabe leads Darth Vader to Gabrador 3, where his old friend Kitster's community is suffering from an environmental plight brought about by the colossal energy extractor built by the cruel governor Tantaza, Darth Vader chooses his friends over the Empire and gives everything to lay waste to the technological terror and save the planet from being rendered lifeless. In the end, Vader is left immobilized after sustaining heavy damage from the attack and left in a vulnerable state. The Queen's Shadow explains her prior intentions to kill him, before she reveals a change of heart and decides to restore power to his suit and save the man Padme loved. After returning to his shuttle and friends, Ochi and Zed included, Vader learns the order to activate the extractor came from the Emperor himself. ... And that's kind of compressed summary of what happened on Gabrador 3 and Sabe taking Vader there to reconnect with his past. Kitster and Wold are there. Vader gets on a pod racer, again.
Oh yeah. It's one of the old like refurbished pods, and they're like, no one can pilot that thing. That's like, and he's just like, let's go.
Just so much good stuff in this issue. Fun, cool new super weapon, the extractor. It just sucks the life out of a planet and sort of leaves it lifeless, and I guess it just collapses on itself. And so that was cool to see something like that. It reminded me of those Adam, you would know, I think, maybe the Dark Empire, those siege weapons. I think the Emperor had, Sunbreakers or something. I don't know what they were. It looked like that almost.
Totally.
It was just almost repurposed wonderfully in this comic. Loved the approach with, I think the droid's like MB7 or something, but it's, for me, it looked like R5 basically.
It was R5, yeah.
It was R5.
Yeah, it was a R5 unit. Sure.
I think Zed calls him MB7 or something.
Yeah, I think that's right.
Yeah. And it was just basically R5, and Vader basically creates this plan to stick his lightsaber in the R5 unit, have it basically trundle over underneath the giant extractor, and then the lightsaber juts out, and basically, much like in Return of the Jedi, where Luke tells it to fly out of R2, it basically shoots upwards, but it goes into the hull of the extractor. Yeah. And then Vader uses the Force, like God of War Ragnarok, to basically have it like clamber around and do as much damage as possible and pull it out of the extractor.
And it was a lightsaber. Yeah.
I hope game designers, are we looking at what's happening? That was like one of the coolest things I've ever seen with a lightsaber.
Well, all right. I mean, in Survivor with the double-bladed lightsaber, there's the like last thing you can unlock is you can throw your double-bladed lightsaber and have it spin, but then you can control it with the Force.
Yeah,
like show it where you want it to spin.
Yeah,
it's a pretty.
You can also use that and then hold your enemy above it, and then drop your enemy on top of it.
Oh my goodness!
If you want to just into like helicopter blades.
I don't know if I have enough fingers for that, but yes.
I've seen it online. You can do it. I never attempted to do it myself, but you can do it. I love Pack's use of flashbacks to the movies. So I mean, to set up a whole story arc over I don't like sand, it's coarse and it gets everywhere, is kind of amazing.
Yeah, Into the Sand. I think an issue is called Into the Sand.
You literally get a quote from...
The sand is huge in this run, and it's beautifully used visually. There are grains of... It is super dramatic. Basically, at the beginning and end of this run, like Vader is looking at sand in his glove and kind of like looking at it just sort of flutter down in the air. And it's on this planet. The planet's being sucked of its life, and so like dust is being left behind. Sand is just the endless, decay of life, like the desert.
You get a lot. That's all that's left.
In issue 25, which I was laughing because issue 26 is when they actually like show you all the flashbacks. But you get a line of Vader in Vader tone going, "The sand will not stop us." And I just laughed in a great way, not at bad dialogue. It's just hilarious. Yeah, it's great.
Oh, speaking of funny Vader parts, I skipped over this from one of the bounty hunter things, but they were talking about uniforms and like she's like, I don't know, this is J.Ella being like, make sure your uniform looks right or else it'll be messed up. You look kind of whatever. And Valance has like one of his collars is like flipped up. It's not like neat. And like then you see, like they go in front of Vader and he like does the like force choke like scene. And he's just like, your collar is out of place. And he just like fixes his collar with the force choke hand. I don't know. That was a good bit.
Yeah, Vader does some pretty sweet like long distance force telekinesis in this issue, where basically he's like giving Piet orders to like bombard the machine, the extractor, and Piet's like, I guess, taking too long to execute the order, and he starts doing But Vader's, I think, in distress already, and I'm like, Vader can just do that? That is like crazy. Like, I guess you have to calculate that now as a storyteller in Star Wars. Is the sort of, for me, it was always like system. I guess the limits would be just within a system, but I guess it can go further.
Snoke did that with Hux, right? in the sequel trilogy.
Oh, right, because he does. He pulls
was
them. Yeah,
light years away.
Yeah. I mean, I guess that's the
Precedent.
power of the dark force, right? Of
Yeah, I
guess. I don't know. It's yeah.
If I can
with
see
you,
you, I can choke you.
Yeah, I mean, we do get that, right? Because we get that in the original trilogy, right? We do get Vader chokes over.
Yeah,
in Empire he chokes over comms, right?
I thought he was still on the ship, but just in a different part. But still,
I thought he was on another ship, but it's still within system. Like it's still close. But I think you're right. I think
it's within system.
And Palpatine can he can sense things going on a planet on the other side of the galaxy.
I mean, I'll always take it. I will always take a rule breaking use of the Force sometimes because it keeps it unclear and less clear. So sometimes even if I'm like, even if it challenges me, like again, one of my favorite quotes though is "That's not how the Force works" by Han Solo.
Yeah.
But like at the same time, like no one knows how the Force works. Like,
right. Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah.
No, I love the more you can obfuscate the Force, the better. And that's, I mean, we were talking at a extent about Dawn of the Jedi and New Jedi Order, but I hope they both serve to obfuscate the Force more.
Yes.
Make it less clear and more clear at the same time. I don't want for much, I just want that.
Exactly. Yeah.
Human stories, but just the forces involved.
Exactly. And it's like we don't know. It's a mystery. Just let the mystery be mysterious.
And don't do something wild, but push boundaries, change things. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. Depends on situations, the person, the connection. Who knows, right? Like,
right.
Don't make it clear. Do not give me a 400-page novel of like this. These are the exact rules of the Force, and then I'm out.
Anyways, what do we think of the return?
Oh
of
yeah,
Kitster?
Kitster's back.
Yeah.
Love it. It's just great to see him again.
Yeah, I mean,
sunrise, sunset.
Yeah,
looks great.
He's surviving for sure.
Wold's there too.
Yeah.
Nostalgia bombs.
Pretty cool. Still pod racing? Kitster's still pod racing?
Yeah.
Wow.
I mean, go with what you know.
I love that Kitster's reaction is like, I got saved, but mostly just because, she was there. Like it was less of that. Like he didn't feel there was any like sympathy for him. It's just,
it was like, I was just like, happened to be lucky to be in proximity with, the girl that looked like Vader's ex-girlfriend.
Yeah. And then Zed and Ochi are like almost comic relief. I love those characters. So much fun.
Zed's fun. Ochi's so wacky. It's like his evolution is bizarre.
He's a cartoon character, right?
It's weird, right? I think we get his descent into madness in the Shadow of the Sith, right? Isn't that where it all kind of like?
Yeah.
So this is like this is who Ochi is,
right?
And then the Ochi that we see for a snippet in Episode 9 is because of everything that happens in the Shadow of the Sith.
Yeah.
Well, isn't he transfixed on that dagger?
Yeah.
It's almost like he almost needs a blood ritual, like. Or what was he like?
Ochi is a tool,
committing himself.
Like in every sense of the word, Ochi is a tool.
I mean, isn't it kind of like Ben? You'll like this reference better, or get it better. But it's just like, isn't it like, what's the series? Darn it, never mind.
Good story.
The Bryan Sanderson finished off the series written by
Wheel of Time.
Robert. Wheel of Time. Like, what's his name? The friend gets possessed by the knife, right? Grabs the knife in like book 1, and then has this like. This like
Padden Fane or
or
Matt
there's that whole
Cawthon.
Matt right gets the knife and then is kind of like has it whispering to him and he's just getting like more and more poisoned by the knife, right? It feels like they're doing the same thing with Ochi, right? As the Sith blade kind of possesses him and demands blood, he's losing his mind.
That's exactly right. Actually, that could be a direct pull where it's like the poison knife.
But is he pulling it out and having those beats though? Like
what's that?
He's not really pulling out the knife and having those beats though that he had.
No, not now because he doesn't have it. He's easy going.
Essentially, the book is the end of Ochi's life. Like we really don't get him in 9. We just get his bones and like some flashbacks.
And a quick flashback.
But as far as like the personality description, I mean, what is it? Something of the Sith, Shadow of the Sith is like that's the ultimate end of Ochi Bastoon.
He's a master assassin is kind of how he's billed too. So
he's
that's
just like
his
a ruthless
thing. Master
man.
assassin.
I don't know about master assassin.
And there's a great scene where he's cornered by all the stormtroopers in Sabe, and he's like, I could just like take you all out in like
just
7 seconds,
right? Like he just keeps surviving. Like he finds a way to survive. Like someone that's around Vader that long, and makes it out alive is just a cockroach.
He knows how to strategically change allegiances in order to survive.
Yeah,
but I mean, I guess he's a good fighter as well, and can do what he can. But he knows to align himself with the strongest people around in order to live. Interesting character.
And coming up, we're gonna get a lot more handmaidens.
Oh yeah.
It's they're out there.
Fox Force 5 too.
And again, I just want to jump back to that, the use of the flashbacks and the whole idea that Sabe was, when Vader is immobilized at the end of this run, or at the end of this arc, she's like debating on killing him or not, and then she's like, "No, I'll just plug you back in and save you because Padme, said she saw good in you or loved you or whatever." And then I guess she comes to the revelation that also that nope, like I guess it's kind of this dark end of that conversation where she's like, actually, I don't think any of us really knew who you were, and I don't think she knew who you were. And it was awesome. I was like, Greg Pak is just really hitting, like he's really able to like pull Vader in new directions, and I thought that was a really fun way for that conversation to end. Like just devastating. Vader just continues to be a devastating, tragic figure. I thought that was just expertly done. But then also her allowing him to live is gonna have there's gonna be some fallout with the other handmaidens. You know what I mean? Like the Amidalans are out there and they're coming. Like the other handmaidens are there.
I don't know how to say this. I don't want to open up a whole can of worms, but like, it's fine that he's still alive. He's not the reason the galaxy's so bad. It's the Emperor, right? Like, because the Emperor would just find another person that would be his.
And it shows how dogmatic he is in these issues too, where they talk about how he just goes to confront problems.
He's set on tasks.
He's so ignorant to everything and just sees it as a problem. And I don't know what that is though. Is it stubbornness or is it just like a bad faith? Like he lives in this
deep depression.
Strange
I don't know.
Deep. Yeah. But why is everything just a problem? He just sees everything as just an obstacle and surmounting that. Whereas the Emperor is really having the malicious intent. Like the Emperor is the malicious intent.
I mean, Anakin is never shown as being strategic, right? He's seeking
really
missiles.
He just like reacts.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that's what Pat does.
That's what Vader is.
He's like, Vader just goes and sees a hurdle and vaults it. That's what he does. And maybe I would love that. I mean, it is, and I think he connects it to the trauma wonderfully in this. In one, I think issue 27 or 26, one of the later issues of that arc, he shows like everything Anakin's done wrong to like. The Tusken Raiders to like the temple to it's crazy. It's this cool flashback sequence where it's just like unforgiving of what he did and like how horrible of a person he is. And I was like, nice. Seeing all those in a row was nice because it was like, this is how bad you are. But look at this.
But this is the other thing too, is that like I think when we get those flashbacks, those are happening in Vader's mind, right? And so that's all he's thinking about. It's all of his failures,
right?
And that's what keeps him going. The guilt, right? Yeah.
I think Pack is doing an incredible job. This is Sewell Pack. Like, has Vader ever been handled improperly? Like, just pro craftsman.
All the people that are running these comics are immaculate writers and are doing really great things with perfect voice pitch and all that stuff. They've chosen wisely and they're letting them ride. There's something to be learned there. I mean, I really hope that Lucasfilm leverages these great writers to do more things. I mean, I love comics that's keeping them busy and they're making great comics. That's great in and of itself, but they could be doing a lot for Star Wars in the future if they choose to have them do live action stuff or whatever, even just informing or informal consultants or whatever. Like they've got the tone down.
Yeah. Do you want to talk about my idea for next week?
Yeah, let's talk about it.
So we could do a lot of other stuff, maybe a little freeforming. But one thing I want us to cover next week, and I want to talk to the listeners to give them their homework, and I'll text you guys so you have it down, because it takes a little bit of hunting to do. It's where I want us to read another comic. It's on the Marvel Unlimited app, but it is a short story in Star Wars Tales number 19. All right. And the name of that short story is Into the Great Unknown. It's a 10-page story. And that's all I'm going to say. And it is relevant that we do it next week. And that's what we're going to do. No spoilers of what we're going to read for you or the listeners. But we are going to read Into the Great Unknown from issue 19 of Star Wars Tale from 2004. So it's non-canon. It's old EU.
Okay.
But we're going to read it and have a fun discussion. You have your assignment.
Tales of the Jedi?
Yeah.
Star Wars Tales.
No, Star Wars Tales.
Star Wars Tales.
Okay.
2004.
I was.
Yep.
Whoa. I was like my 90s, my inner 90s.
I will text you all the link. It's a 10-page short story that is relevant to next week, and that's what we're going to talk about. We can talk about other things as well, but that is one thing that I think we should all talk about.
Okay.
That is all I will say. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge.
Do you think it'll be another hour and 45-minute podcast?
No, I think that will take us about 15 to 20 minutes. So we'll talk about whatever else we want to talk about for the rest of the podcast. But,
okay, I love it. I'm really happy to be able to catch up on these comics. I hope you found this enriching, or at least we're given some knowledge about what's going on, because there are a lot of tidbits in there that are really important. Why does Luke Skywalker wear black? Like, what does Vader care about? Like, where does he draw the line between light side and dark side? And, how involved, like, how did the rebellion find out about Death Star 2? And, like, these are massive, massive things that are going on. I just think the comics are vitally important, and I want to give them their due. And as listeners, if you don't have time to read the comics, hopefully this helps you out. If not, we just talked about a bunch of weird, blathery, like, Star Wars stuff for 2 hours, and hopefully you enjoyed it.
But it's also enough that, if you think it's interesting, read them, because there's more going on than what we talk about. Like, you get more depth, so it's definitely worth reading.
No, there's such a fun run. And you can get an annual subscription for like $70. I know it's like another subscription to Marvel Unlimited, but you get all the comics in the world. And it's like, even if, like, you're like me and you just read Star Wars comics, there's a lot. There's so much. And it's so fun. It's just so fun to imbibe these things. And I do them all digitally. But just, like, the graphics are amazing. The stories are amazing. The characters are so fun. And this is canon. This is happening. Like, everything that's going on there, like, is just as important as feature films, live action series. So, please check it out.
And it's a little daunting too. It's like, what's a Minoc? What's a Wampa? I don't know what those things are really. And when I'm, reading a Star Wars story and they bring up a new word or a new creature or a new funny, alien world or something, I just let it. It's fun. I let it slide. It's just a fun thing. I don't really it's not something you really need to learn about or know about. Star Wars is fun, and everyone should just have fun taking it in if you like. Yeah.
The other thing I'll say to pitch. Marvel Unlimited to people is that I when I teach my criminology in pop culture, I actually do a section on comics and comic books, and I have them read a few comics. And one of the first things I have to do in my lecture is actually do a full class on how to read a comic, because for people who have been doing it forever, it's very intuitive, natural. Yeah. But if you've never read a comic before, it can be intimidating. Like, there is a flow that's not your left, right, natural flow. It's sometimes confusing about where to go. And one of the great things about Marvel Unlimited is you can remove all that by it'll go panel by panel and bring you around how to read it. So if that's your barrier to entry, is that you're a little like, it's overwhelming and I'm not quite sure how to approach this. You can do it, and it gives you a tour when you open it. It'll show you how to do that, where you can just read it panel by panel. It'll show you how to read it.
Yeah, you pretty much just double tap on a panel, and then you're into it, and then that's how it goes. Flip, 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 which is fun. It's a really enjoyable experience. I've been, like, every night I've just picked a different arc and have just sort of caught up on all the ones that I've had accessible there, and it's been great. Yeah, don't sleep on the comics. It's been a really fun podcast. I hope Grex doesn't yell at me too loud next week.
We'll see. I think you should just relax.
Yeah, definitely. Well, that's not my problem, apparently.
Nope.
I'm ready to send the notice, guys.
Yeah. All right. Let's go. Yeah, it's been a blast, y'all. Thanks very much for listening to us this week. Sorry about last week. Yeah. You can feel free to email us, and we'll give you a lot of excuses and blathering. Yep. But we will talk to you next week. And as always, may the Force be with you.
This is Grex Kondak signing off. For the latest breaking news, follow @CoreWorldNews on Twitter and Instagram. Thank you and good night.
Remember, the Force will be with you always.